The first sound was not a scream. It was worse. It came from beneath the floor, slow, hollow knocking, like someone testing the wood from the other side. 3 taps. A pause. Then one more, softer than the rest. I froze in the hallway, boots still wet with melting snow, breath fogging the air inside the house. The heater had been off all day, yet the walls felt warm. Too warm. As if the house had been holding its breath. I told myself it was pipes. Old homes made noises in winter. Everyone knew that. The knocking came again. This time it moved. The sound slid under the floorboards, traveling from the living room toward the stairs, following me. I backed up slowly, my heel brushing the first step. The light above flickered, dimmed, then steadied, just long enough for me to notice something I hadn't seen before. A thin crack in the wall. It ran vertically beside the coat closet, hidden behind hanging jackets. Dark inside. Deep. Not damage, a seam. As if the house had been folded wrong. I reached out without thinking. My fingers brushed the edge, and the knocking stopped instantly. Silence rushed in, thick and pressurized. My ears rang. Somewhere inside the house, something shifted, wood sliding against wood, slow and careful. Then a voice whispered from inside the wall. "You weren't supposed to hear us yet." The temperature dropped so fast my breath turned white. The whisper wasn't loud, wasn't angry. It sounded tired, old, like something that had been waiting through too many winters. Behind me, the front door slammed shut on its own. And from somewhere beneath the floor, a new sound began, not knocking this time. Scraping, like a door being opened from the wrong side. The door did not open again no matter how hard I pulled. I threw my shoulder into it once, twice, feeling the cold iron handle bite into my palm. The frame didn't even rattle. It was as if the house had decided, quietly and without effort, that I was staying. I stood there for a long moment, breathing through my teeth, listening. Nothing. No scraping. No whisper. Just the low hum of the wind outside, muffled and distant, as though the snow had swallowed the world whole. When I finally turned around, the hallway looked exactly the same as it always had. Narrow beige walls, the coat closet to my left, the stairs rising ahead. Ordinary. Safe-looking. Except for the crack. It was still there beside the closet, thin as a blade, running from the baseboard to just above eye level. I was certain it hadn't existed before today. I'd lived in this house for 3 months. Long enough to know its flaws. The crooked banister. The loose step halfway up the stairs. The way the kitchen light took a second to turn on. But not this. I stepped closer. The air around the crack felt colder, as if winter had found a way inside. When I leaned in, I smelled something faint and unpleasant beneath the clean scent of snow. Dust, maybe. Or old breath. "Hello," I said, hating how small my voice sounded. No answer. I laughed under my breath, sharp and forced. "Get a grip," I muttered. Talking to walls now. That was how it started, right? I told myself I was tired. The storm had been bad, the drive worse. The landlord had warned me the power might flicker during heavy snowfall. Old houses shifted. They made noises. People imagined things when they were alone too long. And I was alone. That was the point of moving out here in the first place. The house sat at the edge of a half-forgotten mountain town, the kind that only came alive for 3 months a year when tourists arrived to ski, then slowly went back to sleep. In winter, the roads iced over. Neighbors stayed inside. Phones lost signal without warning. Silence settled like a second layer of snow. I'd wanted that. Quiet. Space to think. Now, standing in the hallway with the front door sealed behind me, I wasn't so sure. I reached for my phone. No signal. The battery icon blinked red. 5%. Of course. A soft creak came from upstairs. I looked up. The sound wasn't sudden. It was careful. Measured. Like someone placing their weight down slowly, testing each step. "Hey," I called, louder this time. "If someone's here, this isn't funny." The creaking stopped. The silence that followed felt intentional, as if the house itself were listening. I climbed the stairs despite every instinct screaming at me not to. Each step groaned under my weight, the noise too loud in the narrow space. Halfway up, I noticed something else that made my stomach tighten. The wall beside the staircase bulged inward slightly. Not much, just enough to catch the eye. The paint there was newer, cleaner than the rest, like a patch trying too hard to blend in. I ran my hand over it. Solid. Cold. Behind it, something moved. Not a sound this time, pressure. A faint push against the wall, as if someone were leaning from the other side. I yanked my hand back. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched toward the bedrooms, dimly lit by a single flickering bulb. All the doors were closed. They hadn't been when I left that morning. I knew because I never closed them. Something about shut doors made the house feel smaller. I walked to the nearest one, the guest room, and turned the knob. Locked. I tried the next. Locked. The bathroom. Locked. My pulse hammered in my ears. Stop, I said to myself or to the house, I wasn't sure. Just stop. The last door at the end of the hall, the master bedroom, stood slightly open. A thin line of darkness spilled out onto the carpet, darker than the shadows around it. I pushed it open. The room looked untouched. Bed neatly made. Curtains drawn. No footprints on the floor. But the air inside was wrong, stale and heavy, like a room that hadn't been opened in years. That's when I saw the floor. The rug had been moved. Just a little. Enough to expose a square outline cut into the wood beneath. Clean edges. Precise. A hidden panel, no handle, no hinge. Just a seam. Another one. My throat went dry. Slowly, I knelt and pressed my ear to the floor. From beneath the house, far below the foundations, something whispered back. We made more room when winter came. The floor shuddered once. And somewhere inside the walls, doors began to open. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I tried and failed, but because the house wouldn't let me forget it was awake. Every hour, something shifted. A slow drag behind the walls. A muffled thud beneath the floor. Once, a sound like a door opening very carefully, followed by the soft exhale of something pleased with itself. By morning, the storm had buried the house. Snow pressed against the windows like a blindfold. The world beyond the glass no longer existed. Just white, endless, and soundless. My phone was dead. The power flickered, then settled into a weak yellow glow. I told myself to leave. I packed a bag, clothes, keys, flashlight. When I reached the front door again, it opened this time, easily. Too easily. Cold air rushed in. Snow poured across the threshold, untouched by footprints. The porch was gone. Not damaged. Not collapsed. Gone. Where the steps should have been was a sheer drop into drifting white, the snow falling inward like it didn't quite trust the space below. I stood there, heart racing, staring into an absence that made no sense. Behind me, the house creaked. I closed the door. That was the first time I noticed the extra hallway. It branched off from the living room, narrow and dim, where the wall had always been solid. The paint was older there, yellowed, the floorboards worn smooth by use. I stood at its entrance for a long time, arguing with myself. This is stress, I whispered. Cold. Isolation. The hallway did not respond. At the end of it was a door. I opened it. The room beyond was small. No windows, low ceiling, a single bare bulb humming overhead. The walls were covered in scratches. Not random. Organized. Tallies, maybe. Or marks made to measure time. In the center of the room sat a chair. It faced the wall. I backed out slowly and shut the door, my hands shaking. When I turned around, the hallway behind me was shorter than it had been before. That was when I started writing things down. Distances. Door placements. Sounds. I drew rough maps of the house, comparing them to old real estate photos I found online. The listings didn't match. The square footage was wrong. Rooms appeared and disappeared depending on the day, or the temperature. Winter, I realized, mattered. The colder it got, the more the house changed. On the third day, I heard voices. Not shouting, not crying, talking, low and steady, drifting through the vents at night. Sometimes just murmurs, sometimes names. Once unmistakably my own. Don't listen, I told myself, pressing my hands over my ears. The voices continued anyway. I finally worked up the nerve to knock on a neighbor's door, the only other house close enough to walk to. An old man answered, his face pale and drawn when he saw me standing there. "You're in that place," he said flatly. "I just moved in," I replied. "There are rooms, hidden ones. I think something's wrong with the house." His mouth tightened. "You should have left before the snow sealed it." "What is it?" I asked. "What happened there?" He hesitated, then leaned closer and lowered his voice. "Houses like that don't grow," he said. "They make space." "For what?" "For people winter forgot." He shut the door before I could ask more. That night, the temperature dropped further. Frost crept across the inside of the windows. The walls groaned under pressure, as if the house were expanding from the inside out. New doors appeared. Some were small, child-sized. Others tall and narrow, their handles placed too high or too low to be comfortable. None of them locked. I opened one by accident. Inside was a bedroom that smelled faintly of soap and old fabric. A woman's coat hung on a hook. A calendar on the wall was frozen open to January. The date was circled. I stepped inside and felt something shift behind me. The door closed. I turned the handle. It didn't move. From the corner of the room came a whisper. "We were cold first." I ran. I don't remember how many rooms I passed through, how many doors opened where walls should have been. The house folded in on itself, corridors bending, ceilings lowering. At one point I saw stairs leading down that hadn't existed before, the steps polished smooth by countless feet. Feet that dragged. Feet that limped. Feet that never left. In one room I saw them. Not clearly. Never clearly. Shapes pressed into the walls from the inside. Faces bulging beneath the paint. Mouths opening and closing soundlessly. Fingers traced lines through plaster like it was wet clay. "Please," one of them whispered. "It's warm where you are." I barricaded myself in the kitchen, breathing hard, heart pounding. The knocking started again, this time from every direction. Not demanding, inviting. I remembered the old man's words. They make space. The house didn't hunt. It waited. It waited for winter, for isolation, for someone with nowhere else to go. Someone who stayed inside long enough to feel grateful for the walls. That night, the house spoke clearly for the first time. Not through whispers. Not through knocks. Through understanding. I knew then what the rooms were for. Not to hide the dead, but to store the living, slowly, gently, until they forgot they had ever been anywhere else. The lights went out. In the darkness, a door opened behind me, and something warm touched my shoulder. The kitchen was no longer the kitchen. It had grown. Ceilings stretched higher, walls bent in impossible angles, cabinets elongated, drawers protruding like teeth. The floor beneath my boots felt spongy, alive, almost breathing. Every shadow flickered unnaturally. I ran toward the only door I recognized, the back entrance, but the hallway behind it had vanished. Instead, a narrow corridor spiraled downward. The smell hit me first. Damp, metallic, and cloying. It was the stench of bodies, or maybe just of the house itself, ancient and greedy. I descended. The spiral tightened, the walls squeezing closer. Each step made a low moan echo through the stone beneath the wood. At the bottom, a vast chamber opened. Dim light filtered through cracks in the ceiling above, illuminating rows upon rows of doors. Hundreds, thousands, different shapes, sizes, all perfectly aligned, each sealed or slightly ajar. A cold realization gripped me. This was the heart of it, the center of the house's hunger. Every hidden room I'd discovered before was nothing compared to this. The house had grown around them, around all the people it had taken. Movement flickered behind one of the doors. A figure stepped out, too thin, too pale. eyes glinting like frost in dim light. "Welcome back," it whispered. Its voice carried familiarity, recognition, a memory that should not exist. What are you?" I shouted, my voice echoing, bouncing off walls that seemed to lean closer. "I'm a someone who stayed too long," it said. "We all did. Don't fight it." The doors began to open themselves, creaking as they revealed rooms I hadn't seen before. Beds, mirrors, toys, chairs, belonging to people I didn't know but felt I should. Shadows rose from each threshold, like smoke solidifying into human form. They didn't walk. They drifted, pulled along by invisible strings. A whisper filled the chamber, louder now, insistent. "You are ours. Winter keeps what it touches." Panic surged. I turned, trying to flee, but every door I approached led to another room, another corridor. The house was folding in on itself, warping time and space. Steps I had taken moments ago were now behind me. Voices called from every direction, speaking my name, mocking me, coaxing me. I reached the largest door at the center of the chamber. My last chance. I flung it open. Inside, I saw a room I recognized, the guest room from the first day. Clean, unchanged. Safe. A flicker of relief. Until I saw the walls. Shapes pressed beneath them. Hundreds of faces. Hands clawing. Mouths opening, screaming silently. Eyes that followed my every movement. And in the center, a tall figure, featureless, towering, impossibly black. It stepped forward, folding the air around it, erasing the light. I backed away. My legs faltered. "Stay," it said. One word, but it stretched across the chamber like chains wrapping around my chest. I screamed. I ran. Every hallway, every stair, every door mocked me. I was dizzy, lost. The house laughed in a low rumble, each creak a voice. The walls expanded and contracted, squeezing and releasing. I stumbled into a room filled with mirrors. I expected my reflection. Instead, a dozen versions of me stared back, twisted, hollow-eyed, mouths frozen in screams. Each one reaching, gesturing, beckoning. One whispered, "You've been here too long. You'll join us." The figure advanced. I could feel its presence through the floorboards, through the walls, through the very air. The lights flickered. I fell to my knees, gasping. "Please," I begged. "I don't belong here." It paused, towering over me, and for a moment the world stilled. Then the mirrors shattered. Glass exploded in silence, cutting nothing, reflecting everything. The figure vanished. But the voices didn't. A new whisper threaded through the chamber, through the walls, through my skull. "Winter waits for no one. You will stay until it is ready." And the floor shifted. Beneath me, a hidden panel opened. I felt cold air wrap around my legs, dragging me downward into the dark, into the countless rooms I'd only glimpsed, into the house's heart. I screamed, but the sound didn't carry. It was swallowed immediately, devoured, leaving only the soft, satisfied hum of the house, waiting for the next winter. I woke to silence. Not the ordinary kind. Not the quiet after a storm or a city sleeps. This was deliberate, calculated. The kind that presses against your eardrums and squeezes until every thought feels hollow. I was lying on a hard floor. The walls were close, too close, painted a faded yellow. Dust hung in the air, sparkling in thin streams of light from cracks in the ceiling above. The front door. Gone. The windows. Nothing but cold frost and darkness outside. I realized, with a sinking certainty, that the house had claimed me, or I had walked willingly into it. At this point, I didn't know which was worse. I tested the room. Nothing moved. No whispers. No shifting. The panel in the floor was closed. For now. I walked through corridors I had memorized. Yet they weren't the same. Hallways twisted into themselves. Doors appeared and disappeared. It was as though the house had learned to mimic familiarity, to lull me into thinking I could navigate it. I was a ghost in my own life, trapped in the anatomy of a nightmare that had no beginning and no end. I found the rooms that had held others. Some had toys, some chairs, some small beds made carefully, like someone had tried to make comfort out of imprisonment. And in each, there was a shadow. Always a whisper. Winter is patient. I realized the truth I had refused to accept. The house didn't need to frighten. It didn't need to chase. It only needed to wait. Time, cold, and isolation were its allies. One day, anyone who entered would be folded into its architecture, a part of its memory, a face behind a wall, a whisper in the dark. I tried to escape. I ran, turning corners, pushing open doors, climbing stairs that weren't there before. But the house had no exits, or it had them all. Every hallway led back to itself. Each room was a mirror, a trap, a soft promise of warmth that never came. By the time the dim light of dawn touched the walls, I understood. I would remain here. Not forever. Winter was patient, but long enough. Long enough to forget the world outside, to forget I was someone, to forget I even belonged anywhere else. I sat against a wall and closed my eyes. When I opened them, I saw the faint outline of a door where none had existed before. I didn't move toward it. I didn't scream. Somewhere in the distance, a soft, satisfied murmur drifted through the corridors. Winter waits. Always. And then nothing. I was still. I was quiet. I was part of the house now. Outside, the snow fell unbroken, covering footprints and evidence of all the lost souls it had gathered. The world continued. But here, inside, the walls remembered everything, and the house waited for the next winter to come. Silence was the only sound. And it was enough.